Good evening, everyone. I'm Dr. Marty Ross, and this is another one of our conversations with Marty Ross MD tonight. It's a webinar where we're going to discuss Lyme disease. And as it is every week, what we discuss is based on your questions. So you literally create this webinar. I just kind of ride along and have a good time explaining things. So as usual, I'm interested in seeing what you have in store for me tonight. I see quite a number of returning names on my message board, and I know that we have a number of new people that are joining us as well too. So to you new people, welcome. To you returning people, welcome as well too. There's a couple ways that everyone can participate. One is see what questions other people have and see what my response is. All right. And when I say see, so if you're in the live version of the webinar, you actually be able to see their questions on the screen. They show up. Unfortunately, they don't show up in the recorded version. So I will read those questions out loud so that people listening into the recorded version can understand what we're talking about. Okay. The other way to participate is actually go bold and write a question. And the way you could do that, there's a chat box on the right-hand side of your screen, I believe, down at the bottom. And there's two options in that chat box. There's a two window icon, like two people chatting together, and there's a question mark icon. Choose the one that looks like the two windows. Okay, that's the one that I actually do most of my work out of. Occasionally, I will look into the Q&A only one, which is the question mark, but most of the questions I'm going to take are going to be out of that two window chat icon structure there. Okay, so keep that in mind. All right. Sometime tomorrow morning, you will probably by around 9:30 in the morning, you will get an email from me saying that the recording is complete. Okay. And that there'll be a link for you to sign up or to listen and watch that recording. There will be some new things happening tomorrow too. And let me explain those to you right now. So this is going to be the last conversations with Marty Ross MD that I have using this platform that we're on, and also where you just sign up directly through my the link that I send out to you, and also using the webpage that I have at my information site called Treat Lyme. What I am going to start doing as of tomorrow, and probably we'll see if it goes out in your email tomorrow, I am moving these live webinars into my Lyme disease community, my Lyme support community called LymeUNITED. So Conversations with Marty Ross MD is going to become and held within LymeUNITED. So in doing that, I'm making LymeUNITED free. So the only thing you're going to need to do is sign up. All right. So tomorrow I will provide links for you to be able to do that. And so going forward, we're going to be holding Conversations with Marty Ross MD within the LymeUNITED community. So you will need to become a member of that community. There are benefits to doing that. One is there's a member-to-member forum where you can talk with other people that have Lyme. There's an office hours with Marty Ross MD where I will take any questions that have been written within the last 24 hours and spend about an hour of my day responding to each of those questions. And then there is this live webinar that we're going to be doing, and I'm changing how we do those webinars. So as you know, one of the difficulties with this platform has been this one-way conversation. You write the question and I just barf out my answer, all right? So that doesn't give any way for me to clarify things. So what we're going to be doing, we're going to be setting up the next Conversations with Marty Ross MD within the LymeUNITED community, and I'm going to do it in a Zoom room. That means in the Zoom room, you are going to be, I'm going to have you post your questions as a chat, and I may just do rapid answering of the chat questions, but occasionally if I need to clarify something, I will make it so that I can see you if you want to be seen on your camera, and I'm going to ask you questions to clarify. All right. So it's going to be more extensive, I think, than what we're currently doing here. And in addition, you get to be part of my larger Lyme community so that you get more help and support along the way too. All right. So bear with me. I'm having to create some website changes for my community. And I also create some changes at my Treat Lyme by Marty Ross MD. And so over the next day or two, all of this stuff will become accessible to you. I'm hoping it'll be accessible tomorrow, but I recognize my limits. So anyhow, you all are going to be able to become free members of Lyme United. And within there, we'll do these webinars in the future. One other change I'm making with that, we will still do, I'm going to be doing 4 webinars a month now instead of 3. And 3 of those webinars will be at the same time that we're doing now, the 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. And then I'm going to be looking to do a morning webinar so that it will be more accessible to our European members of Lyme United, as well as our East Asian and even, I'm thinking like Abu Dhabi and countries like that. I'm going to be trying to set up so that we're probably going to have a meeting at either 9 or 10 a.m. one time every month as well too. All right. So anyhow, that's big news. I hope you all find that exciting. I do. And with that being said, let's go ahead and get started and take our first question here. All right. Hello, Am. Let's see. Hi, Dr. Ross. I hope you're doing well this Thursday. I am. I'm a little stuffy, actually. I was traveling to see my father in Colorado Springs last few days, and I think it triggered all my allergies. So if you hear a lot of stuffiness or I'm coughing, that's why. Okay. And I tested negative for COVID this morning, so I did look into that, but that's negative. So anyhow, I'm doing well, though. Let's see. I was wondering what your thoughts are on Artesunate, the synthetic derivative artemisinin. It would be for Babesia in tablet form taken by mouth. I was told it's stronger than artemisinin. I'm very interested to hear your thoughts on this. Thank you very much. So both Artesunate as well as artemisinin are derivatives of, Artemisia, the plant Artemisia annua. Okay, so they're both derivatives that come from artemisinin or Artemisia annua. Okay, all right. And in my experience, frankly, I don't think that Artesunate is any stronger than artemisinin and vice versa. I have had most of my work with artemisinin, though, and so I like how it can be dosed, and I became very comfortable using it. But before I decided to exclusively work with artemisinin, I had tried Artesunate, and I just made a choice to work with one versus the other. It wasn't for any specific reason. So I disagree that Artesunate is stronger. I think they both have good options as part of a Babesia treatment. Okay. All right. As far as dosing the Artesunate, I don't know that one off the top of my head. I could speak volumes about how to dose the artemisinin because I worked with it so regularly in my practice. All right. All right. Thanks for that question, Em. Good luck to you. Hello, Zainab. Let's see. Hi, Dr. Ross. Just a simple question this week. Woo! Thank God I love simples. No, I'm joking. I like complex ones too. Let's see. I'm currently taking Cryptolepis, Japanese knotweed in the form of resveratrol, and liposomal cinnamon, clove, oregano to treat Bartonella, and Borrelia and Babesia as well. The cinnamon, clove, oregano are very expensive where I live. What could I substitute for them? So first of all, let me make a comment. So this combination of Cryptolepis, Japanese knotweed, and the cinnamon, clove, oregano is designed to go after both growing and persistent forms of Bartonella and Borrelia. In addition, it's designed to go after Babesia. Okay. Now, Japanese knotweed, a component of Japanese knotweed is resveratrol. Okay. But resveratrol is probably not the germ-killing component of Japanese knotweed. All right. So I'm not sure why you went with resveratrol. It can be good at decreasing inflammation. It has some other longevity and anti-aging properties as well too. But in terms of the resveratrol itself being the germ killer, I would encourage you to relook at that. I would encourage you to actually get Japanese knotweed, the whole plant, either as part of an extract, so in drops, or in a pill form. Okay. I think you're going to have better outcomes if you do that. The Cryptolepis that you've got here is good at treating both growing and persistent Bartonella and Borrelia. It also is quite effective against Babesia. The Japanese knotweed has good evidence in the laboratory against both Lyme and Borrelia. It's got maybe a little bit of weak action against Babesia. I wouldn't build a Babesia treatment around it. And then the cinnamon, clove, oregano has good laboratory evidence about effectiveness against growing and hibernating or persister Lyme and Bartonella. And in addition, the clove component in that may help with Babesia treatment as well. All right. So I understand you're trying to save money. What I'm afraid of is if you try to do another substitute, and I'll tell you what the substitute is, you may not quite get as much effectiveness because that clove and the cinnamon, clove, oregano, although is helpful in the Bartonella and Borrelia, it also appears to have some activity against Babesia. So if you switch to another substitute that doesn't have the clove in it, you may lose some Babesia coverage. All right. So what your substitute is to get some oregano drops. So companies like Gaia make oregano drops, and you could do just oregano drops, which would be cheaper than a cinnamon, clove, oregano. However, as I said, you may weaken the strength of your treatment against Babesia, because the Babesia treatment, the big gun in your Babesia treatment here is Cryptolepis. You're getting a little bit of help from Knotweed and a little bit of help from the clove. So you're going to lose some of that benefit if you make a change to oregano drops. And the oregano drops, I usually try to see if people can get up to about 5 drops twice a day if you choose to do that. Okay. All right. So for all of you that are wondering, how in the heck did I know all these things about these various herbs? I'm going to show you an article. Oops, maybe I'm not going to show you yet. Hold on a minute. I forgot to get myself set up to show articles. Hold on just a minute, everyone. Let's see about trying this again. All right, so I'm going to do a screen share. And I'm going to show you an article that I find to be very helpful when I'm trying to figure out what does what and how can you combine different things together. All right, so this is my online treatment guide, Treat Lyme by Marty Ross MD. The biggest part of this page is my online Lyme guide. All right. And within here, I've organized about anything I've ever written in Lyme based upon topic areas. And so in my infection treatment plans section here, you can see, oops, let me do this again. Let's try that again. In my infection plans treatment section here, there is this article called Best Herbal Antibiotic Plans for Lyme, Bartonella, and Babesia. And in here, I review various herbal options, and I even created a table that describes what they do for Borrelia, Bartonella, and Babesia. And then based on this table, I then created some sample regimens down here below. Okay. All right. So I just wanted to share that with you too. Okay. Oops. Let me go back here. All right. Good luck to you. Thanks for your shorter question. Excuse me, everyone. Hello, Colleen. Let's see. Should we stop taking certain supplements before blood work? And if so, how long before? I'll be testing for ferritin, vitamin D, vitamin K, and zinc, all of which I'm taking in supplement form. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom. The main thing I would do is probably for about 24 hours before you get those levels tested, I would not take your supplements, okay? Those supplements specifically, all right? Okay. Good luck to you, Colleen. Hello, Jim. Hi, Dr. Ross. Thanks for these great webinars. You're welcome. Would it be possible to combine methylene blue with an herb or herbs to make an effective Bartonella protocol? If so, which herb or herbs would work best, and what dosages would you suggest? All right. So methylene blue, as many of you know, is a drug that we have historically used for a different reason. Historically, we didn't use it to do anything with tick-borne illnesses. And what it was designed to do is, well, first of all, it's a clothing dye. All right. So if you're trying to buy it on the internet, be careful. You may be getting products that are heavily contaminated with heavy metals. All right. So if you decide to buy it on the internet, I strongly encourage you to work with whoever you're buying it from to send you the certificate that shows that they are heavy metals free. All right. Because there's just a lot of garbage out there. All right. The best thing to do for your health would be to get it from a compounding pharmacy. That would require a prescription, which I know some of you don't have access to physicians doing that. But that's your safest bet to make sure you got a clean source, because the methylene blue can be contaminated with heavy metals. Okay, so that's my commentary there. All right. But research, so it was designed to treat people with a blood problem called methemoglobinemia. And in methemoglobinemia, the hemoglobin inside your red blood cells, its job is to hold on to oxygen as your blood cells float around the body. And there are certain people that have this condition called methemoglobinemia, where their hemoglobin doesn't release the oxygen. So they turn blue. All right. And it really becomes more of a problem. It gets worse when they're under stress. Okay. And I mean health stress or physical stress. So in a crisis, when these people are not releasing oxygen from their hemoglobin, they literally turn blue. They wind up in the emergency room, short of breath and blue. And what we have found is if we inject them with methylene blue, it causes the oxygen to get released and they are doing fine. Okay, so that's what it's designed for. And a clothing dye, all right? But you can have it turned into a pill form by a compounding pharmacy, all right? And we now know from good lab experiments or a few years ago now, or 2 or 3 years ago, that it's great at treating growing forms of Lyme and Bartonella and hibernating forms of Lyme and Bartonella called persisters. All right. The other thing that we know is it's great at breaking up biofilm, especially of Bartonella. All right. So it's a good drug. I think that's probably would be one of the strongest things you can do for Bartonella. All right. Then you got to wonder what to couple it with. And I think I would probably say, you got 2 options, and you could do methylene blue either with Cryptolepis. I think that could be a great option. You could do methylene blue with the liposomal cinnamon, clove, oregano that we talked about earlier. That's a great option. You could even do a triple regimen, which is methylene blue, Cryptolepis, as well as the liposomal cinnamon, clove, oregano. Okay, now, why did I come up with that regimen? Well, the Cryptolepis, believe it or not, it isn't until a couple of years ago that many of us started trying it with Bartonella and Lyme, and that was based on Petri dish experiments that came out of Johns Hopkins University. And I think most of us had discovered it's actually quite strong when it comes to a Bartonella treatment, okay? So it's good at treating growing and persistent Bartonella and quite active against those, all right? The methylene blue, again, is good at growing and persistent Bartonella. In addition, it breaks up biofilm. The cinnamon, clove, oregano is good against growing and persistent Lyme and Bartonella. And it's also good as a biofilm breaker, all right? So biofilms are slime layers that germs grow to cover themselves. And these slime layers are really complex. They have a bunch of non-tick-borne infection bacteria living in them that have certain jobs that they do. And the slime layer is held together in a protein skeleton that's made up of your blood clotting protein called fibrin. All right. And they make it hard to get rid of Bartonella. And what we're starting to increasingly find is your better options at getting rid of Bartonella is probably to be on about 2 or 3 killers at the same time. All right. In addition, to really focus strongly on that biofilm. And so your methylene blue and the cinnamon, clove, oregano would be great at focusing on that biofilm. Okay. All right. I know that's a long-winded response there, Jim, but I just want to make sure that everyone is aware of some of those things I was talking about too. Good luck to you. All right, so I'm going to do a quick screen share here. All right, so for those of you that are looking for options that you can use to treat Bartonella, including herbs and prescriptions, take a look at my article called Kills Bartonella, A Brief Guide. Okay. And in here, I talk about methylene blue. I talk about Cryptolepis. I talk about all of these things. Okay. So take a look in here. All right. And then the other article I was steered toward is that one I looked at earlier with everyone, which is my article somewhere here. This one called Best Herbal Antibiotic Plans for Lyme and Bartonella. Okay. All right. And then I know I've mentioned this cinnamon clove oregano. If you want to know where to find it, there's only one company that makes it. And so you can find it here at my store. And it's the liposomal cinnamon clove oregano. And it is this product here by Dr. Inspired Formulations. Okay. And then the other thing I have mentioned a few times tonight, if you're wondering where to find some of these herbal tinctures, I carry all of them here. And for Cryptolepis, we actually have a few options, but my favorite, mainly because it's a good product and it's not going to break your bank the way some other herbal tinctures will, is this Cryptolepis product that comes to us from Montana Pharmacy. All right. All right. So a few things about my store. Anyone can purchase here. If you're wondering what I consider to be quality products that I have experience working with at work, look here to see what I carry. Okay. But I also invite you to order from me for a few reasons. Number one, I've curated all these supplements to find good products. Number two, I have free shipping for orders over $50. Number three, we ship fast. My shipping department will ship out the same day to the U.S. Postal Service or to UPS as long as you place the order by 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, Monday to Friday. Okay, we go to the post office or we move it to UPS on the same day as long as you placed your order before 2 p.m. All right. I also cover your sales taxes as well, so you're not responsible for that as well. All right. So I invite you to order from my store. And keep in mind when you do that, that actually supports the free things that I keep offering everyone as well too. Okay. All right, let's go back here. All right, let's see here. Hello, Carter. Let's see. Have you tried other herb tincture providers before? How do these stack up as far as strength, potency, and ratio? All right. So I have, in the end, I have settled on Montana Pharmacies for a few reasons. Number one, they actually worked with Stephen Buhner when they were coming up with their formulations, and they worked with him personally, actually, to develop their extraction processes as well as to the strength that they use. Okay. Now, Stephen Buhner, as many of you know, is a master herbalist that wrote extensively about managing tick-borne illnesses with various herbal antibiotic protocols. And so, and again, Montana Pharmacy worked with him. All right. The formulation and potency that he preferred to work with was an extraction where you would, the tincture was developed by putting 5 parts alcohol along with 1 part of plant. It's a 5-to-1 extraction. Okay. And Montana Pharmacy has stuck with that kind of recommended way of going. All right. All right. And I also like them because I have experience working with them now. I know from firsthand experience working with patients in my clinic that they work. Okay. And finally, the last reason I've gone with them is compared to a lot of other providers, companies that may make herbal tinctures out there. I have found so many that just don't reliably make their product that when I go back to try to renew getting more for my store, they're just not available. And Montana Pharmacy has done a good job meeting the demands that I have on them for producing a high quality product on a regular basis that can keep up with the demand that I have. Okay. All right. So that's why. So experience using it that says it works. Stephen Buhner was helped them come up with their various extraction processes as well as the strength that they use. And again, I see in my practice that these are good products. Oh, consistent supply is the other one too. Okay. All right. Good luck to you, Carter. So again, everyone, just so you know, in terms of where you find these Montana Pharmacy tinctures that I just endorsed here, you can again find them at my store. You can see them either under my Buhner Herbs or Ross Report Protocol, or you can see all of them under the Montana Pharmacy tab right here. All right, and this is all of the stuff that I carry from Montana Pharmacy. It's a pretty extensive collection, okay? All right. Hello, Chris. Hold on here just a minute, everyone. Hello, Dr. Ross. Firstly, I want to say thank you. Your information and general kindness over the last several years of doing this podcast has helped our daughter and us immensely. Great. I'm so glad to hear that. You know, I put myself into this, right? So and what I'm hoping for is to help people. And I realize that a lot of people with tick-borne infections just don't have good sources or reliable, trusted sources. So I've tried to put out good information and become a trusted source based on actually having done this and worked with it. So when I give you advice, it's based on a lot of experience too. And I want to help as many people as possible. So I realized I could do that by seeing people one-on-one in my office, but I have a bigger reach this way, actually. So I enjoy doing this. So I'm glad to help people. So thank you for sharing that with me. I appreciate that. My question tonight, however, does not concern tick-borne diseases, but something else. I have had mild Crohn's disease for most of my adult life. I take no medication except for polyethylene glycol, Restorelax, which I have been taking for about 8 years. My problem that I cannot find an answer for a solution to is that I have severe bad breath, fecal breath. Nothing I have tried works. My oral hygiene is good. The issue seems to originate from my gut or digestive system. Could this be a gut probiotic imbalance? Is it really horrible? Any ideas, suggestions for a probiotic? Thank you. So one of the things, Chris, that you might want to look at, it could be due to an imbalance of your microbiome. It could be, all right? I don't know that it is, but it could be. So what would probably be helpful is to look and see if you do have an imbalance, all right? And so there's a couple ways you could do that. One is if you're working with a physician, a functional medicine doctor, somebody that understands integrative and alternative medicine and functional medicine, they likely would be able to help you get a comprehensive stool analysis, either through a company called GI Map or Genova Diagnostics. And what these companies offer is a stool test that will look and just will be able to identify what is in your microbiome and have suggestions on what may be in short supply or an oversupply. And that with that information, your physician that would be able to determine whether you need to take something to kill some of the bad stuff or what you need to do to build up the good stuff. So it gives you that information. Okay. Now, if you do not have a physician that is guiding you, then you might want to take a look at a different way of testing your stool. And that is to use a company called Viome. It's Viome. You basically send you a test kit. You send it back to them. They interpret what's in it. I think they have a physician maybe involved. And then they recommend diet as well as supplements that you can take to get the balance corrected if there is an imbalance, if you're in short supply or don't have enough. Okay. And they're doing a genetic analysis of what organisms are in your stool. So it's a pretty comprehensive analysis. Let me show you. I'll show you where you can find them. Okay. But that might be another option for you to look at as well too. Okay. So I can't recommend a probiotic because I wouldn't necessarily do that yet. In your situation, if you were bringing this into my office, I would tell you, don't even try to do a probiotic yet. let's look and see what's going on in your gut and with your gut microbiome specifically. Okay. All right. Let me do a quick screen share here for you. Okay, so the company you want to look, it's called Viome. And this is them, okay? Viome. And they'll walk you through how to read through here. You'll see how to order a kit, what the cost is, etc. Okay? All right. Oops, let's see here. Stop sharing. All right. Good luck to you, Chris. Hello, Monica K. Hi, everyone. I'm new here, a first timer. I live in South Australia. Welcome. Glad to have people. We have people from all over the world that participate in this, so good to have you here as well. And thanks for letting us know you're here. Hi, Lisa. Let's see. Thanks for all you do for the Lyme community. You're welcome. Thanks for saying that, too. Hello, Bob. Let's see. Hi, Dr. Ross. Or you didn't say hi. I put that in. You said Dr. Ross. When it comes to using Cryptolepis, you prescribe 5 milliliters 3 times a day. Well, is that okay? I guess if we all use your Montana Pharmacy formula. But that has a lot of alcohol in it. And for many reasons, many of us cannot take it. And trying to boil it off, the alcohol is just a meth with a dosage that's 3.5 milliliters of alcohol per dose. 3 times per day is 10.5 milliliters alcohol per day, not trivial. I have chosen to use a non-alcohol product from Secrets of the Tribe that is highly regarded and reviewed. The core issue now becomes the dose. Montana Pharmacy claims to have 554 milligrams of actual product per 0.7 ml. This means we get 554 milligrams times 7. Correct. So if I extrapolate that to the Tribe product, which has 665 milligrams per 0.7 milliliter servant, I then get 4,700 milligrams of actual product, a fairly large dose. Bottom line is that a more scientific dose would be nice. As always, thank you for your help. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to answer your question here, Bob. So when I'm trying to compare apples to oranges, I'm wanting to know what is the extraction? How many parts liquid were used to get the chemicals out? Now, it's not a perfect science, okay? So your strongest extracting liquid is alcohol. Some companies will use a sugar-based extraction liquid, and I'm blanking, glycerol, I think they're going to use, or glycerin, they're going to use a glycerin to do that extraction. Now, it does not do as potent of an extraction, but it's difficult to compare 5 milliliters of one that's done in glycerol to 5 milliliters of one that's done in alcohol. In general, probably the alcohol extraction is not going to have as much per 500 milliliters. And let's see. I don't know. I don't know that. I don't know the Tribe product to even be able to figure that one out. Okay. The one thing, so, you don't have to boil off all the alcohol. What you can do is you just boil hot water, put it in a glass, 2 or 3 ounces of it, then put your drops in, and most of that alcohol is going to steam off. So it doesn't require boiling. It's just a matter of giving it time to steam off that I have found in my practice. All right. So I'm not going to be able to give the best answer here. Okay. All right. Good luck to you, Bob. Oh, the one thing about Bob's dosing he's talking about is for Babesia, I do recommend 5 milliliters 3 times a day, a teaspoon 3 times a day. Okay. For Bartonella and for Borrelia, I recommend 2.5 milliliters 3 times a day. All right. So I want to be clear about that. I use a much stronger dose when I'm using it to treat Babesia than I use if I'm trying to treat Bartonella or Borrelia. Okay. Hello, Brenda. Let's see. What's your opinion on getting senior flu shot? Thanks for doing these chats. So the flu vaccine, let's just look at the track record on it. Okay. So the flu vaccine, when they look back at the end of the season to see how successful it was in any year, on average, it's somewhere around 50% effective. All right. Meaning when they designed the flu vaccine, they're always having to guess what the strain of the year is going to be. And they don't always get it right. They get it somewhat close, but maybe not all the way right. And so therefore, it is only 50% effective. All right. So I just want you to have that piece of information. Okay. Now, the trouble in people that have Lyme is we have found that it's not uncommon that when somebody gets the flu vaccine, regardless of age, they seem to have a worsening of their Lyme symptoms. Now, that does not mean they have a permanent decline, but it can be significant enough, and it may take a month or so to climb out of the hole. It's hard to say why it is exactly, but that's just an observation. Okay. All right. All right. So considering we know that the flu vaccine only works about 50% of the time, and there is the risk of a decline in your Lyme symptoms. So in general, you have to ask, and this is a question for anyone to answer, is it worth preventing flu and taking the flu vaccine that only works 50% of the time? In return, you might get a big decline in your Lyme symptoms, or it might get worse. Okay. So you're balancing out risk and benefits here. Okay. Now, for certain groups of people, the risk of what flu could do to them is a lot greater than the general population. All right. And those groups of people are people that have diabetes, people that are on immune suppression agents, people that have chronic kidney disease, and people that are 65 years of age and older. All right. So I do, for people that are over 65 of age and older, I do recommend the flu vaccine. I acknowledge it may only work 50% of the time. And I acknowledge they may get a flare in their flu vaccines, but because of the potential harm in that age grade bracket of getting harm from the flu, I think the risk benefit analysis errs on the side of getting the flu vaccine. All right. Now, you, in looking at it and your own personal choice, may decide, no, it's never worth it for me to do anything that's going to make my Lyme symptoms temporarily worse. And that's a decision you would have to make. Okay. But in general, if people ask me in my practice, and they did, what about if I'm 65 years of age and older, should I get the flu vaccine? I would have this exact discussion with them, and then I would say, yes, I do recommend it. But I acknowledge, you got to weigh out the risk and benefits, and it's a very personal decision, and it's a personal decision that somebody should make, knowing that information. Okay. All right. Thanks, Brendan, and good luck. Hello, Sandy. Do you find Bactrim useful in a Bartonella protocol? Do your patients have a lot of side effects from it? So, it's interesting. Most of our research about antibiotic effectiveness for Bartonella has really evolved in the last, I'd say, 4 or 5 years. A lot of that came about as the lab at Johns Hopkins University that was run by Dr. Yin Zhang was really trying to do some good work looking at what works best to get rid of persisters, and therefore growing ones as well too. All right. But prior to that, most of the research had pointed to other drugs than we might currently use now. So in the past, based on research, there is research that suggests good effectiveness of Bactrim. Okay. There's research that suggests a good benefit from doing azithromycin and clarithromycin, for instance. Okay. Methylene blue is not on the picture, and there really wasn't any research that had been done looking at what herbs to use. All right. There just wasn't. There may have been some limited research showing benefit from doing tetracyclines, but Bactrim was one of the recognized ones. So in the world, before we started using azoles like fluconazole and methylene blue and Cryptolepis and Japanese knotweed and liposomal cinnamon clove oregano, I used a lot of Bactrim in my practice and to treat Babesia. And you could do like a clarithromycin, azithromycin with Bactrim. You could use a doxycycline with Bactrim. You could take a Bactrim, not that I would advise this, but you could do it with a quinolone like ciprofloxacin or levofloxacin, although I tend to stay away from those now because of potential for tendon rupture and tendon injury, but you could do it. A couple is really nice with the Bactrim. The one thing that's nice about Bactrim is there is compelling evidence that it's useful against persisters as well too. So sulfa antibiotics, like the dapsone, for instance, that Dr. Horowitz tries in his protocols, that's a sulfa antibiotic too. Sulfa antibiotics have the ability to get at persisters to a degree. Okay. So yeah, I've used it before. I found it to be effective. The main side effects that people would get, maybe about 5% of the time or so, people would have allergic reactions to it. The other risk of it is a stomach upset. And there's a rare person that would either get some decline in kidney function or would get some bone marrow suppression from it. Having said all that, 95% of people tolerated it fine. Okay. All right. Good luck to you, Sandy. Let's see. Monica K says she has 3 questions, and I'm going to take one now. All right, so here's the first one. Hi, Monica. Let's see. I hope I'm able to get some info about Bartonella, as I'm certain if I have Lyme or not. As my initial research a few years ago indicated, I may have Bartonella. Okay. So, oh, you're from Australia. That's right. Let me see what other questions you had. So let's see here. Okay, so Monica, you've got a number of questions, and so they're all around what is effective against Bartonella. And then you also asked, I know so Australia is difficult, everyone. First of all, it's probably even worse than Canada in terms of the healthcare authorities basically not allowing people to treat Lyme there. Okay. And so increasingly, a lot of people in Australia are having to turn towards herbal remedies. All right. So, Monica, one of your questions was, does my store ship to Australia? And the answer is yes. You're going to pay some money to do that, okay, because you're going to have to work with a third-party shipper that literally buys it from me and then ships to you. We'll help get some of the brokerage through the border, and also, but we'll have some transaction fees and currency fees as well, too. I'm going to show you how to do that real quick, and then I'm going to come and answer some of your other questions, okay? So let's see here. Let me do a screen share. Okay, so this is my store. All right, so let's go back here to the beginning. All right, so let's say you wanted to do my liposomal cinnamon clove oregano product. All right. So you could take this and then you basically just add it to your shopping cart. And then when it comes to your shopping cart, everything gets listed in US dollars. And then the way to get it shipped outside of North America is to click this international checkout. Okay. And what happens with this international checkout, then you are transferred. Oh, there it is. You're transferred to a web page that is operated by this third-party shipper called Global ShopX. Okay. And there's a bunch of questions you need to answer so they can help give you an idea of what the cost will be. And literally what happens then is you place an order with them. They, Global ShopX, then turns around and buys the product from me, and the product is shipped on your behalf down to their shipping center in Florida. And then from Florida, they work with whatever international shippers they work with to send it out to you. Okay. So this is a way you can buy stuff from my store. They control, the shipping costs. They control the currency exchange. They control trying to broker it through your border. But once it's in their hands, that relationship between purchasing that product is between you and them, basically. Okay. All right. But that gives you an option. That is one way to get it there. Okay. All right. Let me get out of here. Okay. So then in terms of herbal options to treat Bartonella, I would take earlier tonight, I had people, showed you an article about herbal antibiotics that you could use to treat all kinds of things. Okay. I'm going to show that article to you again in case you missed it. But where I would go in terms of doing your homework and trying to figure out what to do is to look at that article. And that's this one called Best Herbal Antibiotic Plans for Lyme and Bartonella. And in here, I have some options on how do you treat Bartonella. I give you a number of herbal options. So option one is Hutania, Sidacuda, cinnamon, clove, oregano combination. Okay. Another one is one you could do that also would cover Borrelia, and that would be to do Japanese knotweed, Cryptolepis, and then throw in a good biofilm breaker agent called Biodisrupt. Okay. All right. Anyhow, I give you some options to look at here that keep you in that herbal realm, because I think within your country, you can still find a lot of these herbal options. Okay. All right. And it's going to be a little difficult so the way that you wrote your questions, you hit the enter key multiple times, which sends your questions in multiple pieces to me, and it gets very difficult for me to piece together more than what I just did. All right. So, but that's how I'll handle it for now. Okay. You know how to get products from my store. And I showed you the article where you can use to put together herbal protocols for yourself too. Okay. All right. Good luck to you, Monica. Hello, Emily. Have you heard a lot of emotional numbness from these infections? The doc says depression, but of course, no antidepressants ever touch the numbness. My pets have even gotten emotionless. Also, is that the brain and brainstem infection part of this? All right. So, the two infections that can involve mental health issues, whether it's depression, numbness, apathy, whatever you want to call it, the predominant one usually is Bartonella, but Borrelia can do the same thing too. Okay. So yes, any of those can. It seems to be related. One of the big pieces that it's due to is the effect of in your brain of the inflammatory cytokines that are made by your immune system to try to combat these germs. Those cytokines are good. They turn the immune system on. But when these white blood cells make too many cytokines, and they often do because they have a hard time getting rid of these infections, those cytokines can cause a myriad of things, including insomnia, sleep difficulty, mental health issues. So the big thing I like to do with people that have emotional issues, depression, psychiatric issues, number one, I usually want to make sure I'm covering for Bartonella in terms of my antibiotics. Number two, I may even put a person on prescription antidepressant medicines if needed to help get through the period. Number three, I like to work to keep the cytokines low. And as many of you know, in my Ross Lyme support protocol, one of the central things I recommend that people do as part of that protocol is to take something to lower inflammation cytokines. My favorite agent to do that is the cinnamon or the liposomal curcumin. And the company that makes that is a company called Thorne, and their product is curcumin phytosome. It's a liposomal form of curcumin, so it increases its absorption. I usually have people take 500 milligrams 3 times a day. Additionally, what can be helpful, especially if you have mental health issues, at lowering cytokines, is to be on a liposomal glutathione. Glutathione is a very powerful antioxidant that is made in every one of our cells. It's primarily responsible for getting rid of damage in the cells, okay? And it's repairing things, basically. But as an antioxidant, it lowers oxidation signals that come from your immune system that tell white blood cells to make cytokines. So it blocks the message going to white blood cells to tell them to make cytokines, while curcumin gets inside the white blood cells and interrupts the factory production. Okay, so you get a double help. You block the messenger with glutathione, the cytokine production messenger, and then you get in the factory with curcumin and you block the production. So you get a double effect. Okay, and so the way I like to use that liposomal glutathione, the product I like to use is a product by Research Nutritionals. Their liposomal glutathione product is called Trifortify. They have an orange and a watermelon flavor. They have a 5 ounce and an 8 ounce. You got choices, okay? But I usually like, especially with mental health, I like to have people take about 5 milliliters of that 1 time a day, okay? All right. So let me just show you a few things here. I'm going to do a screen share. All right. So in terms of key components that anyone should do as part of their tick-borne infection treatment, take a look at the Ross protocol. And you'll see I talk about how critical it is to get sleep, and I give you recommendations on what to do with that. I talk about diet and what you can do for that. I talk about the importance of keeping the good bacteria in your gut and balance. And where that really is particularly important is what's going on in the gut influences your mental health, okay? So I would focus on that in your situation as well, too. I talk about the need for exercise as you can tolerate. I talk about the need for doing something to lower cytokines, okay? And so I just want to put that out to you. Take a look at these sections and make sure you're doing all of these key components, because that, although it's expensive, it's what's going to help right your ship so that you can get well, okay? All right. And then finally, in terms of the glutathione, again, the product I'd like for that, oh, heck, I'll just type glutathione in here. So it's called Trifortify. And the Trifortify comes in different sizes and different packaging. You can find it there, okay? And then the curcumin phytosome is a product made by Thorne, and that's this product here, okay? All right. Good luck to you, Emily. Hello, Lisa. My IGeneX test in late 2023 indicated I have a positive Babesia decani, but a repeat IGeneX test last summer indicated in the new culture test that I tested positive for microbiome. What do you make of this? So the method, this IFA method, which is different than the culture, sometimes there is enough reactivity that, so the IFA is a method to measure antibodies, and it's not a perfect method. Sometimes it'll indicate antibodies as being decani when they really were antibodies made against microbiome. Okay, so there's a little bit of a false positive and cross-reactivity issue with the IFA method. Okay, all right. So that was measuring antibodies versus their what they call their enhanced culture test. Is they basically are looking. They draw your blood, and they're seeing if they can find genetic material of the Babesia And then they take, to make it so they really can see the genetic material, they take your blood, they put it in a culture that helps promote growth of more copies of the genetic material, so that when they go to measure it, they have a better chance of seeing it. So it's called an enhanced culture, but it's basically a PCR DNA test. They're looking to see if they have the DNA of the germ, which is much more precise than looking to see if you have antibodies against a certain strain. Okay? All right. Good luck to you, Lisa. Hello, Diane. Hi, Dr. Ross. Thanks for these webinars. Is it okay to take coordinum with methylene blue, Cryptolepis, Knotweed, and cinnamon, clove, oregano for longstanding Babesia, Lyme, and Bartonella? Yeah, I have no problem with people doing that. I don't know that you necessarily need to be on all four of those things, but if you're asking, is that a combination that would be safe to take together and would have good benefit? Yeah, I think it would. Okay. Good luck to you, Diane. Excuse me, everyone. Let's see. Also, would you recommend olive leaf extract with these for chronic Epstein-Barr? So maybe, but let's talk about whether you really need to treat the Epstein-Barr. All right. So the problem when we get into chronic virus infections like Epstein-Barr, like cytomegalovirus, like human herpes virus type 6, and something called human herpes virus type 8, and something called parvovirus B19. What I just listed off are basically viruses that cohabitate in us, and the majority of people never have symptoms from those viruses cohabitating in us. All right. And that is because they live in us, but the immune system keeps them under control. All right. So just having done a test that, as most people do, their providers will look and see if their body has antibodies against the viruses. Just finding antibodies does not prove that those infections are active, right? Because as I just said, majority of people are healthy. They just cohabitate with them. So I just need to say that, okay? And even if you had elevated antibodies, that just may mean your immune system is really working good at keeping those germs under control, okay? All right. The problem is we don't have good testing that tells us what is the actual viral load. Did the load of viruses in you get out of hand, okay? So my approach, I don't test for these viruses because having a positive antibody test does not tell me whether it's active. It just doesn't, okay? All right, so what I do acknowledge, though, is that when you get tick-borne infections like Lyme or Bartonella or Babesia, or if you have mold toxicity coupled with that, you might get some immune suppression that then makes it easier for these germs to become active and become part of the problem, all right? My approach always has been with chronic viruses, though, is not to test for them initially, but to realize that all the steps that I have in my Ross treatment protocol, or my Ross support protocol, I should say, the things that are designed to get sleep, to lower cytokines, to be on adrenal support with ashwagandha, to get your Lyme infections and tick-borne infections under control, to remove toxins, all those parts that are part of the Ross support protocol actually make it so your immune system work better and probably be able to put the viruses back under control. Okay. All right. So in my practice, what I have done historically is I never go testing for those viruses to begin with. There are times, though, that I may be a year or more into treatment. And if I've got somebody that is just not turning the corner, I sometimes will go and test for the antibodies, not as a means of telling me for sure if it's active, but at least to give me information about whether a person might have those viruses in them. And if they do, I may do a trial of working with an antiviral protocol. And what I like to do to get, if I think that maybe Epstein-Barr is part of the problem because somebody's not turning around by doing all the other sports I do with them at a year, I might start treating for Epstein-Barr using olive leaf extract, 500 milligrams 3 times a day, and as tolerated based on whether you're having Herx reactions or not, I will try to work up to 1,500 milligrams 3 times a day. Okay, so you start at 500 milligrams 3 times a day. As your body adjusts to that, then you might go to 1,000 milligrams 3 times a day. And as you adjust to that, you might go to 1,500 milligrams 3 times a day. Okay. In addition, I have found it very helpful to do things to support and boost the antiviral part of the immune system. And what I really like using is reishi mushrooms. Reishi at 400 milligrams 3 times a day is a good booster for the antiviral part of your immune system. Okay. I also used to recommend that people take something called transfer factors. These are chemicals made by some of your white blood cells that will help the immune system target certain infections. The problem is the main company that was making those has decided, out of regulatory concerns from the Food and Drug Administration, that they're no longer going to make that product anymore. So if you read some of my stuff about how to treat viruses, you'll see I mentioned a transfer factor called transfer factor plasmic. It's not available anymore, unfortunately. Okay, so having said that, let me show you my virus article. Okay, so it kind of covers what I just said, but you can read it again as well too. So let me just do a screen share here. All right, so take a look in my online Lyme guide again, look in my infection treatment plans, and look at this article here called When and How to Treat Chronic Viruses in Lyme, a Brief Guide. Okay, all right. And in here, I talk about the testing controversy, why it's not the most accurate thing. And then I talk about olive leaf extract and the reishi gano. Again, this transfer plasmic is not available, and the thymic protein A is not easily available either. Okay. The stronger herbal antibiotic I have found is olive leaf extract, but I will also sometimes work with monolaurin instead. Okay. All right. Good luck to you, Diane. Hello, Cammie. Hold on here just a minute. Let's see. I have Lyme, Babesia, Toxoplasmosis gondii, and mold illness. I also have Candida. What should I start treating first? What do I treat with Candida, with herbs, natural, or antifungal? Okay. All right. So, first of all, I doubt, even though you may have tested positive for Toxoplasmosis gondii, it is an infection that lives in the brain, actually, but in most of the time, your immune system walls it off. So even testing positive does not mean it's active, and generally, I don't treat for that. I mean, even if somebody tests positive, I don't treat it because I know the immune system probably has it under control. Okay. So in your situation, I would the germs you want to focus on over time, I suggest, is Lyme, Babesia, mold toxic illness, and the Candida. Those are the areas I would look at. Okay. In my protocol, what I basically suggest is that I would probably start with the Lyme and the Babesia. You could treat those two at the same time. Probably about 6 months into your treatment, I might look at adding in something to cover the mold toxic illness. And regarding the Candida, if you're having a very bad case of Candida, I would start with it first before you add in your Lyme and Babesia protocol. Okay. All right. So let me just show you where you can find all that information here. All right. So take a look at my Ross protocol here again. Okay. And again, I tell you, you should get sleep. I tell you about diet. I talk about what you should do to balance your gut. Exercise, control your cytokines with curcumin, be on an adaptogen, something that helps your body deal with the stress of the illness called ashwagandha. Work with herbs or prescriptions to correct hormonal imbalance. Be on a good multivitamin. But then down here, I talk about, let's treat yeast. Okay. All right. And so I give you ideas on how to approach it. The herbal combination that I like to use is a product called Capri Plus. It has in it caprylic acid, garlic, and oregano oil. So CAPRIPLUS, all is one word, 2 pills twice a day. I give that about an 80% chance it will work, and it will take 2 months. Your other option would be to do this combination of nystatin and fluconazole. That's 2 pills twice a day, coupled with diflucan, fluconazole, 200 milligrams 1 time a day. And this works about 90% of the time and should have your yeast under control for 30 days. Now, if your yeast are really, really out of control, you're going to want to get them under control first before you start putting on antibiotics in you, okay? And then in terms of the antibiotics, I talk here about herbal antibiotics and prescriptions you can use. In here, I also note that if you have Babesia, Bartonella, and Borrelia, or any 2 combinations of this, a good herbal protocol is this Cryptolepis, Japanese knotweed, and the cinnamon clove oregano. Okay. Now, all the way back here at the beginning of my protocol, I do address what about mold and when do you deal with mold? Okay. All right. So one of the things I suggest is make sure it's not mold that's giving you all your symptoms. So mold toxicity and tick-borne infections look identical. So if your history tells you I got sick when I was living in this house with obvious black mold and I was healthy before then I would probably not even focus on your tick-borne infections. I would go after mold toxicity first, okay? If, on the other hand, it's not clear, then what I would do is go after your tick-borne infections first. And if you're about 6 to 9 months into treatment and you're not getting better, then I would add in treatment to cover for the mold toxins. Okay. All right. So to kind of summarize that, let me go back here. All right. So to kind of summarize it, if you really are loaded with a lot of yeast, before you start putting in prescription herbal or prescription antibiotics to go after your tick-borne infections, I would spend a month or 2 cleaning up your yeast while you're getting sleep. Get on ashwagandha, be on your curcumin to lower your cytokines, okay? But clean up yeast first, okay? Now, if you have a minor yeast problem, it doesn't seem that major, you can actually treat yeast while you're introducing herbal antibiotics to treat both your Babesia and Lyme together at the same time. And if by your history of when you got sick, it's not obvious that the thing that really made you sick was mold toxicity, I would come back and grab that, add in mold toxicity treatment, probably about 6 to 9 months in. Okay. All right. Good luck. Let's see. Lisa. Also, I wasted doing the AccuDart test. Just wanted to let people know this is not an accurate or helpful test, in my humble opinion. So the AccuDart test is a company that's doing AccuDart is looking to see if you have developed IgG antibodies against Lyme, but they're only looking at IgGs. And I believe I think they may be they're using the IGeneX technology, but because they're only looking at IgGs, they may miss a lot of tests. The other thing is they're doing a finger stick, and we don't know, even though they're using the IGeneX methodology to look at the blood, we do not know if a finger stick accuracy for blood is as accurate as getting the volume of blood you do in a blood draw. No one has done those studies to tell us that. Okay. All right. So thank you for sharing that with us. Hello, Adrian Dennis MD. Welcome here. Let's see. Arthritis and the distal things due to spirochetes. What would be your course of action? So, okay. So by spirochetes, I assume you're meaning Borrelia. Okay. I'll just start with that. So, basically, to be clear, if you've got Borrelia within the joints, even though you may have most of your symptoms here, okay, if it's there, it's throughout the body, okay? Lyme doesn't just isolate. You may have symptoms in some isolated areas, but probably it has spread throughout the body, okay? So you're talking a systemic infection, okay? All right. So the key things about treating Lyme is you need to treat for both growing and persister forms, wherever that is, all right? And if they're having a lot of inflammation, you may want to think more towards part of your treatment being prescriptives. And let me tell you why. So some of the prescription antibiotics like doxycycline have anti-inflammatory properties as well too. All right. So you might look at doing doxycycline. Doxycycline is going to be very good for growing spirochete as well as intracellular forms. All right. In addition, it has good penetration into the joints and can get at Lyme that's in there, but it's going to be going after just the growing spirochete and growing intracellular Lyme. It doesn't do anything for the macroscopic cyst form of the germ. Okay. And it doesn't do anything for persisters. All right. But you do get benefit of anti-inflammatory effect, and I do 100 milligrams twice a day. All right. To go after the cyst form of Borrelia, I would consider, and this is the growing cyst, I would look at using grapefruit seed extract. It has some good laboratory evidence that it can be helpful against cyst. Practically speaking, I've had good benefit with that too. And that would be 250 milligrams 2 times a day. Okay. All right. The other thing I would add, there's 2 other things I would add to that, especially if there is a lot of inflammation going on. I would consider using hydroxychloroquine, which is Plaquenil. And I would do it at 200 milligrams twice a day. That dose does not lead to the retinopathy in the back of the eyeball. It's higher doses that do. So if you're using above 200 milligrams twice a day, you do need to get regular eye screenings. But at 200 milligrams twice a day or under, you do not need to get regular eye screenings. I used to do it, but the eye doctors all started sending patients back to me telling me not to. Okay. Now, the reason you want to do the Plaquenil is 2 things. First, it's anti-inflammatory. It's going to help with both cytokine and non-cytokine inflammation. So it's going to help with the joint. Secondly, it has the ability to change the acid content within the what are called vacuoles within cells. And it makes it more basic. And in a more basic environment, the doxycycline and your intracellular antibiotics can work more effectively. Okay. All right. So Plaquenil has 2 effects. Anti-inflammatory, may make your doxy work more effectively. Okay. All right. And then finally, you need to do something here to get at the persister state. Okay. So again, let me make sure so that we're on the same page. We probably are, but so Lyme has different appearances or forms. There's the spirochete. There's an intracellular form. It moves inside the cell, sometimes called the L form. It loses its coat. And then there's a microscopic cyst form of the germ, and it literally can morph into all those. Okay. In addition, these spirochetes, intracellular and cyst can either be growing or they can be in persist or hibernating. And we are finding increasingly to get Lyme taken care of, we have to cover for the hibernators as well too. All right. And so what I would look at doing for that probably is a liposomal cinnamon clove oregano, a 1 pill twice a day. The other advantage of using that is you get some help with biofilm. It can help with biofilm as well too. Okay. All right. So those are some isolated things I would look at doing. In addition, look at my whole Ross protocol, because again, it's not just about killing the germs. These infections just screw up every system in the body, and you need to do some things to right the ship, basically, too. So take the Ross, look at my support protocol for what to do about cytokines, ashwagandha, all that stuff that I mentioned there as well, too. Okay, and good luck to you. Good luck to your patient, but also I'm glad you're here getting advice too. Hello, Jackie. Good evening, Dr. Marty. This is Francine, Jackie's mom 5 years ago. Oh, hi, Francine. Let's see. This is Francine, Jackie's mom. 5 years ago, I fell forward, hitting my left frontal lobe hard on the cement step. Did not realize for months, caused seizures, drastically altered personality and judgment. Wonderful neurologist sees 85% healed as per EEG. She is surprised I still have some symptoms. I feel strongly Lyme has settled in the injury. Later, she discovered very mild seizures, right middle brain, affecting memory. Prescription worsened this. Alpha brain helps. I trust your judgment. Would cognitive care or other self-help with memory with DD3 should I take? Seizures are at night causing incontinence. Should I just find the right seizure drug or add bladder control from you? Thanks. Okay. So I'm going to give you some things to think about. For me, really to give you the best answer, I would need to ask you some more questions. Okay. But when you get brain trauma like this, one of the things that can happen is one of the problems that you can develop, and often is part of this, is you get injury to the cell energy factories called mitochondria. And once they're injured, they have a hard time repairing themselves, and they have a hard time generating enough energy so your nerves work correctly, and so your nerves can actually heal. Okay. So one thing I usually suggest in situations like this is to do some steps to repair your mitochondria. And one of those things involves repairing the outer membrane of the mitochondria. So every one of your cells has 300 to 400 mitochondria. They are the power factories of your cells. All right. So you need to power up your nerve cells so they can heal. The covering of a mitochondria is made up of the same phospholipid fats as is your nerve cell membrane. So whatever you do to repair your mitochondria membrane will also repair your nerve cell membranes in theory. Okay. What I like to use to do that is a product made by Research Nutritionals, which is called ATP 360. And I have people take 3 pills 1 time a day. The main component of that are these phospholipid fats that repair the mitochondria membrane and repair your nerve cell membranes. In addition, it has a number of micronutrients that help your mitochondria work better. Okay. In addition, I would add to that a liposomal form of glutathione. All right. And the reason to use glutathione is the master antioxidant that is made in every one of our cells. And it's found in low levels within your mitochondria. But if the mitochondria have gotten injured, and if your cells have been injured, they might have exhausted their own glutathione supply. So you kind of need to fill up the gas tank, okay? So I usually have people take liposomal glutathione. The product I like for that is Trifortify by Research Nutritionals. I mentioned them earlier tonight, and I would probably do 5 milliliters of that one time a day. Okay. So think of the ATP 360 as repairing the outside of your mitochondria as well as your nerve cell membranes. And think of the glutathione as repairing from the inside. Okay. All right. All right. Then the other thing I have found helpful in situations like this is to work with a peptide, which is called BPC 157. All right. So our bodies manufacture probably well over 100 different peptides, and each of these peptides has certain functions. There is a peptide that is made within our stomach lining, and it's called BPC 157. And probably it's made by the stomach for the main reason that it can help keep your intestines working well and repairs injury to the intestines. Okay. But it's been observed, and even there's research showing that it is beneficial at doing damaged tissue repair, including nerve repair. It can help your gut keep working well, and it may help with mitochondria performance as well too. And it balances inflammation within your body by helping to regulate what's known as Th1 and Th2 inflammation in the body. Okay. And so I would look at doing that as 500 milligrams twice a day. Okay. So there's three things I would recommend here for you. I haven't gotten to your bladder yet, but I would work to keep repairing your nerve function. Okay. And again, I'm taking a functional medicine approach. I'm trying to fix the function of your nerves and the function of the mitochondria to get everything working better. So ATP 360, 3 pills one time a day. The Tri-Fortify liposomal glutathione, 5 milliliters once a day. And I would, because it may help repair things, I would add in the BPC 157, 500 milligrams twice a day. All right. Do those three things basically. Okay. Now your bladder control, I don't know where that's coming from. I would assume this is probably neurologic. And so the steps I'm taking to fix your nerves in the brain and the mitochondria likely will help with your bladder control over time as well too. All right. Now, if this is going to be helping you, you may start noticing improvements in about 2 to 3 months. If you are, that doesn't mean all your symptoms will be gone, but if you are, then I would continue all of this stuff for about 6 months total. Okay. All right. Let me just do a quick screen share here for you. All right. So in terms of the products that I was just talking about, you can find them here. So there is a product called BPC 157, and it's made by a company called Integrative Peptides. Okay. That's the product there. Again, the Tri-Fortify I showed you earlier, and any one of these you want to do a teaspoon once a day. And then the ATP 360 is this product here, and it's 3 pills one time a day. Okay, now be careful. Research Nutritionals makes another product called ATP Fuel. So I don't want you to get the wrong product. So do not get the ATP Fuel. I want you to get the ATP 360 that I'm circling over here. Okay, all right. All right. Good luck to you, Jackie. Let's see here. Hello, Lisa. Can you comment on an updated Babesia treatment given the excitement around tefenaquine? Sure. So tefenaquine is a drug that's in a family called the quinolines. Okay. In general, your prescription antibiotic regimens for Babesia fall into 2 families. There's a family called quinoline-based treatments, and there's another family called atovaquone-based treatments. Okay. Your 2 quinolines are called tefenaquine and another one called primaquine. they are really hard to get your hands on right now. All right. Of them, tafenoquine is the newest kid on the block and is having some really good activity. But because of the shortage of it, I tend to reserve it for when atovaquone-based treatments are not working. Okay. But probably your strongest tafenoquine treatments, or your strongest treatments in the world of treating Babesia is going to be a tafenoquine-based treatment. All right. So we're running short on time here. I'm going to show you two resources to look at about tafenoquine and tafenoquine-based treatments and Babesia treatments. All right, so take a look at the, if you just were to go in here and just write in tafenoquine, I have an article that's primarily a video article that I recorded off of one of our webinars a while back. Okay, I would just listen to this. I talk a lot about tafenoquine here. And then in terms of how you build treatments to treat Babesia, here's my article called Kills Babesia, a Brief Guide. And in here, I talk about atovaquone-based treatments, and I talk about quinoline-based treatments. And the two quinolines are either primaquine or tafenoquine. Your tafenoquine needs to be coupled with one of these drugs, azithromycin, clarithromycin, doxy, or minocycline. Most doctors combine it with azithromycin. And then if that's not working well enough, you want to add atovaquone to it, okay? So usually a tafenoquine treatment is going to wind up actually involving three things: tafenoquine, azithromycin, and atovaquone, okay? But sometimes just using tafenoquine by itself with azithromycin or clarithromycin or doxy or mina works just great, okay? Okay. All right. And then in terms of dosing tafenoquine, I think we're all still learning the right amount to use for Babesia, but it seems that doing 150 milligram pill, 2 pills 1 time a day works quite well. Tafenoquine is very fat soluble, and things that are fat soluble stay in you a long time. All right. And because they stay in you a long time, you don't need to dose them frequently. So 2 pills about 1 time a day. All right. Now, there's some interesting mouse research that got published maybe a year ago now, looking at Babesia treatment with tafenoquine. And in the laboratory experiments, they were able to show that if mice were treated for, I believe it was Babesia microti. It could have been Dakani, but I think it was Babesia microti. They were able to show that when mice were treated, that not only did it get rid of their Babesia, it also produced immunity against future Babesia infections. And that all caught our attention, all right? So probably what happens is as tafenoquine kills the Babesia, it triggers a strong enough immune reaction against the Babesia part that then leads the immune system to make antibodies and to activate the Babesia killing part of the system that it remembers, so that if Babesia ever comes in again, it's ready to pounce on it. All right, so that was fascinating. It's an animal study. We haven't seen whether that's true in humans, though. Okay, all right. So I hope that gives you some useful information there. All right, everyone. That is it for me for tonight. So again, I don't know if I'm going to have it ready to launch tomorrow, but either in tomorrow or sometime next week, I will let you know how you can sign up as part of the LymeUNITED community, because I'm moving the webinar into the LymeUNITED community. We'll send out something that either tomorrow morning, depends if I get enough design work done on my webpage for that, or in the coming few days, that will tell you, as part of the LymeUNITED community, it'll tell you how do you sign up for LymeUNITED, because you will need a membership, and it's a free membership though. And then where you go to register within there for the next conversations with Marty Ross MD. That again is going to be a Zoom room conversation. All right, it's going to be different than what we've been doing here, and we'll be adding in the number of members that show up from my LymeUNITED community. You'll be part of that too. And again, when you join LymeUNITED, you'll get to participate in my 1 hour a day office hours, where I write responses to any questions people have. You'll be able to participate in our member discussion forums. And there's just a host of information there. Okay. All right. So keep your eye out for your email tomorrow morning, where I'll explain to you this even a little bit more in the email. And good to be with you all tonight. Again, that email tomorrow morning will definitely include at least a recording link for today. All right. All right. Goodbye, everyone.